Alrighty, y'all, so there comes a time in every man's life when it's 11:52 p.m. and they need to record the intro and they've already wound down for bed and they don't want to kick on their webcam, so you'll have to forgive me one more. What's going on, y'all? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Solarions in Starfinder. That's what we're working on today. For all you sci-fi nerds out there, or anyone who's been curious about the system. If you're liking what you're seeing, remember to like, subscribe, and ding the bell. Remember that Patreon gets you a Google Sheet that this build is thrown together on, a bunch of other cool stuff, and is the #1 way to support the channel. Now, let's dive in. Alright, so the Solarion is a very different class, short answer, than a lot of other things that are available right now. They sort of feel like a first edition Pathfinder kineticist in the sense that they use this magic adjacent thing that works with the forces that control the universe and then use those forces to power themselves and harm their foes. Or I guess kind of also like the 5e Warlock in the sense that they work with forces outside of the normal magical structure and use the powers granted by those great and awesome forces to power themselves and harm their foes. Sorta also has vibes for all your like Tome of Battle martial classes. Anyway, mechanically what we're looking at here is something called Stellar Mode, representing your attunement to the sun or things such as black holes. When you go into battle, you enter a state of like metaphysical alignment is what they call it. Essentially, you can only access your powers when initiative is rolled, and at the start of your first turn in combat, you choose either unattuned, stellar, or graviton, one of 3 modes you enter into. At each turn after, you stay in that current mode or become unattuned. If you stay in the mode, you gain another attunement point. Once you hit 3, you're fully attuned and can use some of your like super awesome powers. If you go unattuned, if you were like Graviton 2 and then for some reason needed to go back to Photon, you would set up at 0 or unattuned, each having its own benefits. Graviton mode giving you insight bonuses to reflex saves, Photon giving you insight bonuses to damage rolls, and both granting stellar revelations or rogue talents or barbarian rage powers or whatever it is you want to call it, the special thing we do for value. Solarians also have their own very unique sort of thing that they carry around with them called a solar mote. When it's not active, it's a little floaty Navi kind of thing behind you. In combat, this manifests as your solar armor, a solar flare, aka ranged weapon, a solar shield, literally a block with the power of the sun, or what we'll be building around the solar weapon. We pull this thing out the air and create a weapon that looks like whatever the heck we want it to. It functions as a one-handed kinetic advanced melee weapon with an item level equal to our Solarion level. We're of course proficient with it. At first level, you choose whether it does bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. You can change this every time you level, and it does 1d6 plus your strength mod and damage. The damage ticks up by d6s and can be modified with weapon crystals. Talk about that later. For now, for our choice of race, I landed on, after a lot of bouncing around back and forth, the Suli. The buffs to strength and Cha are everything we want, and Elemental Assault helps us cheat having to buy weapon crystals to change our damage around, burning a swift action to cause half the damage we deal with our Sun Sword or Moon Axe or whatever the heck, to become acid, cold, electricity, or fire for a round for a number of times per day equal to our level or CR. So gets better as Icon will be the theme, though really anything that's +1 Cha will do it for you. For our starting ability scores, we're looking at a Strength of 18, Dex and Con of 10, Int of 8, Wiz of 10, Cha of 17. For our feats, because we're going to be going into the thick of things, heavy armor proficiency right out the gate. It's a shame that Solarians, I've pronounced that 2 different ways now, whatever. It's a shame that space kineticists don't have this automatically, because going up to people and decking them with the power of the sun is kind of baked in. We'll accept the feat tax just because we don't have a whole heck of a lot of decks, and what can I say? I'm trying to not get you killed, man. At level 3, we'll take Coordinated Shot, which we would have loved to take at level 1 because we're full bad, but had to take the heavy armor thing. Oh well, I'm complaining about nothing. It says whenever we're threatening a foe with a melee weapon, any ally that has line of sight to that foe without us being between the pair of them gets a +1 untype bonus to range attacks against them, which is huge, because this is a game where guns are. A lot. Almost everyone wants to make ranged attacks, So this is super helpful for the marshal who literally brought the space knife to the space gunfight. Though that said, it is still quite important. My experience in Starfinder has taught me that, like, there's gonna be stuff that wants to get up in your face, kill and eat you, stab you with their own star knives, or anything in between. Big, strong marshal is still very useful in the meta. We'll take step up at level 5, using our reaction to guarded step when they guarded step. Why? Because in the meta, again, I imagine a lot of folks are going to want to, like, step away without getting punched and then try to shoot you. And, like, we just really want to punch people. It's what we do. Mostly. We don't always, but, like, a lot of the time. Then next, straight out of Alien Archive 3, Periostra training, with a requirement of the Stellar Mode class feature. Hey, that's us. Mysticism 5 ranks and a Charisma of 13. When we have 1 or 2 attunement points and use a Stellar Revelation, we can spend a single resolve point to use that revelation as if we were fully attuned to our current mode. We can't do this if we have disproportionate revelations, which ostensibly says every level you have to take 1 light side and 1 dark side revelation. You were already doing that anyway, probably, so it's fine. It just helps us get where we're going a little bit faster. And by level 7, I feel like you have enough resolve points that you actually want to spend them that way, and you're not just, like, clutching them for dear life, trying to stay alive and not die a horrible, miserable death. Next up, deadly aim whenever you take the attack or full attack action with weapons, including that thing that we manifest from the cosmics and don't call us a biotic, which I guess I should have said at the beginning of the video. I'm sorry, Mass Effect fans. You can take a -2 to attack rolls to have those attacks deal damage equal to half your BAB, which scales a lot better than it did theoretically in older editions of the game. But when you're taking a -4 to full attack, that further 2 in a lot of situations I feel will be more keenly felt. But more damage make them die faster, it's what we like. Next up, we'll grab Step Up and Strike, which lets us move up to 10 feet when we're step upping. We can also either make an attack of opportunity during the move or wait and see if they still continue to shoot, in which case we have a second reaction with which to jam a sun sword directly into their throat. Because, again, chasing them across the battlefield and then punching them with that Mass Effect glitch blade thing. Okay, y'all, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a long time since Mass Effect. I don't exactly remember the flavor text. And also I'm buying it when the remaster comes out. And also I forget when the remaster comes out. I'm going to Google that right now. May 14th. Got it. Excellent. Remind me to record a lot of videos in advance the week before so I can have a bunch of time off to go kill some Reapers. Anyway, next up we'll grab Penetrating Attack to reduce energy resistances and DR by 5 against your weapon attacks. That should be pretty self-explanatory, right? Let me hit you one more time in case I didn't get there. We want make them hurt bad, so this make them hurt less bad, so fix with Penetrating Attack, right? We cast Greatsword, we know what we're about here. Next, Lightning Reflexes to have a +2 to reflex saves, and really because these feats still shine quite a bit in Starfinder as of this recording. It's also our worst save by a lot, and like missiles exist, so it seems good to not get shot by anti-tank missiles. It's a pun because we're the tank in traditional parties that I don't think exist in TTRPGs, but improved Lightning Reflexes next, spend an RP to reroll a failed reflex save. And then lastly, improved initiative. If you've gotten this far, there's no reason to not. Simultaneously, my favorite feat in the game and also my favorite feat to take last as a, yeah, why not, sure. For our kinetic wild talents, I mean invocations, I mean stellar revelations. First up, at level 1, everybody gets it, both Black Hole and Supernova. When you are fully Graviton attuned as a standard action via Black Hole, you can pull any number of creatures within 20 feet of you closer. You choose whomst is affected and whomst is not. Everyone has to fort save or be pulled 10 feet towards you. The range of the revelation and the distance pulled increases by 5 feet at 5th level and every 4th thereafter. Solid objects don't block this, but creatures that run into solid objects don't move any closer to you. Creatures moved by this ability don't provoke because it's forced movement. After you use this revelation, you immediately become unattuned and is a Zenith Rev for the purposes of abilities that reference them. This is also dope battlefield control. Remember, you can voluntarily fail a fort save. I've definitely seen a Solarion in one of my games use Black Hole to just move the mechanic back when the mechanic was in a bad way. Start the combat overextended, this will fix it. Are you playing the Marshal? Are you trying to do a lot of Marshal damage and everyone's too far away from you for you to like eviscerate them, disembowel them with the fury of a black hole? This will help you. Supernova, when you are fully Photon attuned as a standard action, you can deal a d6 of fire damage plus a d6 additional fire damage per Solarion level to everyone within 10 feet of you. It's a reflex for half. At 9th level, it ticks up to a 15-foot radius and a 20-foot at 17th. Another great thing for the big, angry Marshal to have. You want folks to swarm you. Run forward, charge that Supernova, get a bunch of, like, little swarm shitheads around you, and then just nuke them. Even better if you've got a biohacker running with you who can just pass out fire vulnerability. Seen that happen in Fly For Your Die. Not in that exact, like, pattern, but it could be cool if it did. Del and Cody, I hope you are listening. Next up, our first Solar Revelation, Stellar Rush. It's a standard action which lets you wreathe yourself in stellar fire and charge without the penalties. Whilst attuned or fully attuned, you can substitute a Bull Rush for the melee attack. If you Bull Rush, they still take 2d6 fire damage, regardless of whether or not you yeet them out the airlock. That damage, of course, scales up. And of course, in Starfinder, charging forces a -2 to attack rolls and AC. So reducing that -2 is huge. Next, because the cosmic forces would be pissed off at us if we didn't, we gotta take a dark one, which I guess is good. I shouldn't complain. They're objectively good. When I made this, I really wanted to shout, praise the sun, and then a bunch of robots exploded about it. Oh well. Dark matter. As a move action, you essentially increase your density, because gravity things, which allow you to resist physical damage. This gives you DR1 over all the things, which goes up to 2 at 6, then ticks up on and on and on. It lasts for a round or until you leave Graviton mode. When you're attuned or fully attuned, it's equal to actually half your Solarion level. Not a bad thing if you're getting swarmed, have blown up, and then need to buff out after. Next, Glow of Life. You can use a move action and burn a resolve point to recover a number of hit points equal to twice your Solarion level. You can't use this again until you regain stamina points after a 10-minute rest, but when you gotta have it, you gotta have it. Whilst attuned or fully attuned, you can just bop this up 3 times your Solarion level and then stab them. It's very, very efficient. This feels very lay-on-handsy, which, you know, classically speaking, pretty good. We'll take Crush next, using a standard action to make somebody's spleen pop, which causes them, of course, to make a fort save or be staggered for a round. This revelation can also affect constructs who have their cyber spleen pop. You can maintain this effect as a move action each round. If you do, the target gets the save every round. You can't target a creature with this again for 24 hours after they pass. Whilst attuned or fully attuned, you can burn a resolve point to also stun them for a round, which can't be extended by maintaining, but debuffs are real strong. I'm gonna get out ahead of this right now, because I can just picture the comment, down to the person who makes the comment. I see you. I won't name you, but I see you. I'm not going to take Blade in the Night on this build. It's a very good buff that is untyped on damage rolls against creatures. It scales real nice, but Tommy in 2021, when optimizing a character, will almost always optimize wide and not narrow. I want, especially with characters who are going to put themselves in harm's way on a regular basis, to have more answers for bad situations and less, I real good at stab things. Is it a good ability? Sure. But I don't think it's as good as Snap My Fingers, Heal Myself, Snap My Fingers, Stagger You, or other control things as well. So yeah. Anyway, next up, Solar Inferno. It takes a full action while attuned or fully attuned. You can make an attack with your Solar Flare, shield, or weapon against one target. On a hit, the target and everything within 10 feet of it except you, so tell your allies before you're gonna, like, explode them with sun power. Makes a reflex save. A creature who fails gets the burning condition, which does 2d6 damage, which goes up eventually to 4d6 by 18th level. Burning procs at the start of your turn before you take any actions. You can reflex at the end of the round. The DC is equal to 10 plus the amount of fire damage you took that round, so it changes a bunch. You get a +2 bonus for each previous save you attempt in consecutive rounds. Again, though, extra damage in this form, as opposed to, like, here's a +2 untyped, is something I like a lot better. Granted, there's a save on it. Odds are this will do more damage anyway, unless they're just passing saves. And what can I say? Sometimes bad RNG is bad, you know? Next, Draining Agony. As a reaction, while you are tuned or fully attuned, when a hostile creature within 30 feet of you takes damage from any source, you can snap your fingers and add your Solarion level, god damn it, I'm gonna keep doing that. I don't know how to say it. Sunboy level to the total damage they take. You can only do this the once, but imagine at late game, snap, 15 more damage. It's like chip damage, but you asked a quarterback to come take the golf club and not try to chip into the hole, but actually, I don't know. Guys, I don't play sports. I can't finish the analogy. It big, it good. Next is Sunbolt, which costs us a standard action and lets us fire a bolt of concentrated sun energy at a target within long range as a ranged attack. Granted, our dex is not very good, but it targets our foe's EAC, which a lot of time will be net lower than their kinetic armor class was anyway, especially on like big hulking targets. If you hit, you deal 9d6 fire damage. If you have a Solarion crystal that changes the type of damage dealt, you can do different types of damage with this Sunbolt. You only have it the once, but sometimes the once is all you need. Maybe I'm biased here because like I'm writing into my own GM style, but I really like having my intelligent bad guys try to GTFO the battlefield when they're getting their asses kicked. You know, like interest in self-preservation and shit. This will help us make sure that doesn't happen at pretty damn long range too. Next up, Superlative Nebula. Whenever you use a Graviton Revelation as a move or standard, you can take a guarded step as part of the action, because everyone loves dancing around the battlefield. Also, if you take hit point damage, as a reaction, you can use any Graviton Revelation that can be used as a move action. For us, this is literally just snap our fingers, turn on our DR. Next up, Ultimate Photon, the radius of any Photon Revelation, but not Zenith Revelation, that has a radius, or our big explodey power from the beginning, expands by 10 feet. Any Photon Revelation that lasts for a round, or until you leave Photon mode, now lasts for 1d4 rounds if you're not in Photon mode. This also lets us Stellar Rush, buff our AC, and Glow of Life as a swift action. Ask all the Paladin players from Pathfinder why we like Lay on Hands. Ask anyone who's ever charged and then got hit in any system and afterwards been like, gee darn it, I got hit because I charged. I'm such a dumb. Now imagine if your armor class goes up from charging, right? It's real cool. And then lastly, Quantum Entrapment, Zenith Revelation. When you are fully Graviton attuned, you can do Time Oracle things, pulling them out of the normal confines of space and time. You gotta make a melee attack against the target's EAC, which, I mean, is ostensibly what we do, so hell yeah. If you hit the target, there's a will save, or they're shunted out of reality for 1d4 rounds, put in a teeny tiny vivid space that causes them no harm, but effectively causes them to cease to be. They cannot be located or contacted by any mundane or magical means. They reappear in the space they last occupied after the duration, or closest unoccupied if somebody's standing where they were standing, so you don't get further timey-wimely body explodey. The target creature will assume no time has passed during its absence. It returns exactly in the state it was when it disappeared, including, like, duration still ticking on it. Or you could spend a resolve point as a reaction to just yeet them out for a number of rounds equal to half your Solarion level. There it is again. Solarion, biotic kineticist. If that's not a capstone ability, I don't know what is. Like I said, I really like control powers a lot on my characters who do not normally look like they should have control powers. And before we dip out of here, some key items for us. First things first, the almighty Soulfire weapon Infusion. It can only be applied to Solarion weapon crystals when you hit a target with a solar weapon, which is augmented this way. You add your Chaw to damage in addition to strength, because we haven't learned that putting 2 ability scores directly into someone's dome is really good, apparently. Next up, not going to talk about any of them in particular, but Solarion weapon crystals are kind of your bread and butter. Switch your damage type, switch your element more times than the Suli is doing. Get critical effects. This is as cool for us as it is for like the soldier to carry different kinds of firearms for a variance in damage type. And there's just so many of them. And the longer Starfinder goes, the more there will be. Next, I don't have one of these for Starfinder yet, but the Big Six obviously exists a little bit. A Ring of Resistance gives you an enhancement bonus to saving throws, but only with your lowest base save. If 2 or 3 of your base saves are tied for lowest value, you pick one, scaling all the way up to a +5 bonus. You knew you'd see it. And then, of course, there's lots of different ways to up your ability scores. Within this system, you can only have 3 personal upgrades regardless of source. For us, that feels like Strength Con Sha. Keep your numbers growing higher and higher. Because what is TTRPG if not power creep? No, really, I'm asking. That's where we're going to call this video for today. What do y'all think? Have we played them? What I miss? I imagine I missed a lot. I'm still kind of new to Starfinder, if I'm honest. Y'all have definitively outshone me in the comments in the past. Please continue to do so. It's how I learn. Anywho, next week, it has been brought to my attention that the min-maxing for fun and profit playlist is a little clunky now that we're fully running 3 systems. So gonna take an off week from recording. However, I am going to go back and reorganize, make 3 separate playlists for 1E, 2E Starfinder, and God, honestly, if I have the time, we are probably going to remake some old thumbnails, because sometimes I see my thumbnails on Google and I'm like, oh, these are fucking bad. I've learned, I've leveled up, and I'd like my channel's old content to reflect that, since clearly it's still getting views and comments and things. In any case, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.